Hold on tight, family, for what you're about to hear is not a drill. Being faithful for more than 10 years. Holding your lover in jail, the type of public scrutiny and controversies even Kris Jenner would perspire from it. And then, being body-bagged in public, a live feed similar to the leftovers from yesterday. Yes, Mr. Black Love himself is Mr. Skull Papoose. Was expelled verbally from Remy Ma's heart in full view of the internet, and the person who took his position is none other than the block captain Eazy, who claims that Remy is her ideal partner, not simply a man. Ooh, is this really life, or did it happen? Forget about Maury's YouTube account. To determine whether chivalry is indeed extinct, or was it just abandoned by someone who had a verified Instagram account and better bars? We have dodgy subtweets from DMs that were released, covert studio meetings, and a purported conflict that resulted in someone's wig being figuratively grabbed, and it's not who you think, we assure you. Grimacing expression, so take a drink of popcorn, your tea in turn, off all of your alerts. The road forward, since we're going to get too deep. Examine the scandal that was recently revealed. Relational objectives in the face of. Let's get a microphone stand and fire ready. Bring the drama to light, and let's go back. Prior to the treachery, before the live stream, prior to the cultures. Repression waking up with one of the most surprising hip-hops. Interpersonal implications have always been present. Remy Ma and Papoose were spotted there, supposedly indestructible. The blueprint for devotion to the couple that made it out of jail. Tabloid rumors about barriers, industrial politics, and amid all temptations, the amusement, whatever the world. Through at them, he waited 7 years for her. And when she returned home, they partnered with Love and Hip to build an empire. Hop promoted them rather than merely showcasing them. Since they are the only pair above the turmoil, they developed a bulletproof bond that doesn't scandal. It might still affect people today, since, in a live 1-minute transmission, Remy Ma didn't simply terminate 1,000 romances. She had a public performance, detection of it. She dissected it, destroyed the illusion of what they were. She eliminated all delusions with a few words that sounded like bullets. I was devoted to a person on the internet who Papoose was comforting. She said in her fantasy, simple as vision, not a rumor, not gossip. These were her statements on a leaked audio recording. Mouth her camera. That was the moment that the linguistic equivalent of igniting, leaving your own home and leaving without. People flinched because they couldn't believe it. And it isn't exaggerated because when Remy, the same Ma who previously expressed gratitude, thank you Papoose for being her pillar of support. She served for 6 years with 10 toes down. Behind bars, she abruptly makes public statements that she didn't value the man. That's not an epiphany, but a cultural explosion. But let's face it, the indications were present and the corpse had been drifting. The vocabulary used at previous events had evolved. Papoose used to be prominently shown, began to appear as a backdrop in marriage. There were additional, quick, unpleasant silences and lengthy stares. The looks that were shared between Remy and that dude weren't simply another man. Enter Eazy, Block Captain, street poet, fight rapper, and nasty no who wasn't here. Filter no apologies type. For the phony grins from Hollywood or an easy pair of branding that is well crafted was the edge, Remy, the hunger, the fire, formerly embodied and perhaps even was. I'm craving again. And here is where it's easily perverted. And it's not just he wasn't only a name from the outside, sliding with a bar heavy. Pick up into direct messages, he was already in her sphere of influence. She booked him, promoted him, and employed him. Her own combat rap league. Chrome 23, did she invest in her artist? And if so, should you trust her when she murmurs a path for emotional escape? Because when you begin viewing the video in the manner that she saw him, the regularity of their correspondence during the alleged late-night discussions to discuss branding strategy begins to create an image rather than a fuzzy. One blatant high-def treachery was discovered in slow motion, and individuals observed the A clip from the Chrome 23 anniversary ceremony. However, it didn't become viral right away. However, Remy, the internet has a memory, observed bending closer to Eazy's hand. Lingering for a moment on his shoulder, Papoose is right there, observing for too long. Grinning, but it falls short of his eyes. Do you recognize the expression? Someone gives after the individual has already passed away. Who is standing next to them first appeared to be choked up. It's industry pressure, tour stress, and busy schedules. However, there was a problem, and then the moment that wiped everything arrived. Uncertainty throughout the routine's construction Instagram Live Q&A session with a fan asked her, whether in jest or as a follow-up, is Papoose still your favorite? She didn't hesitate or flinch, just remarked, gazing into the camera, I adored the notion of him, but occasionally you outgrow concepts. At that point, when the change occurred, people ceased arguing and began observing in incredulity, as what transpired next wasn't even rage. It wasn't the same as bitterness. Even worse, a detached Papoose was intended. Nothing like how I feel about it, not even close. Easy. It just required 16 words to rewrite more than 10 years of public adoration to make the man standing. Next to her, perhaps the most difficult time of her life seemed to be a pointless phase of her Twitter blew up and TikTok blew up. YouTube comments were melted down by Reddit. We're really filming response videos. Even devoted Remy and Pap. Supporters at the time were blinking at their displays. They asked because, when? Is this really happening? The Black Love Queen proclaims the king is unimportant. It's not only the termination of a relationship is a story. Falling, the hypotheses began to flow. According to others, she was never truly in, initially, love. Was only devoted to the loyalty that others said, and she discovered intent to reinvent herself as the lady she was prior to the baby. Before the phrase prior to the meticulous image maintenance, but everyone concurred that this wasn't a publicity gimmick and this was actual, followed by the so-called screenshots of private chats and receipts, talks from leaked audio clips that purportedly occurred between Rem persevering and intimate companions, describing how long-edged, and there were rumors that she had begun to bond with Eazy months or even years before the flirting chemistry. And finally, something tangible that existed long before the public knew. And this is the most some reports claim that Papoose is the damning section. She knew, not merely suspected. Dawn remained silent for the image of the brand, deluding herself, as there's nothing worse than seeing her and losing the lady you love fall in love with another person while the globe still thinks you are everything to her. According to sources, the dynamic shifted behind instances in which Papoose halted going to events unless it was essential, requiring that Chrome 23 employees begin whispering that some members of the team abruptly stopped without warning. During this time, Remy and Eazy appeared to have nothing to do as they moved, conceal blogging more often and grinning more than an uneasy sort of happiness that doesn't disregard if anybody is observing. But there's more going on here, because this goes beyond a personal breakdown. Financial problems are being discussed quietly. Secret contracts are being moved by power. Renegotiated some things behind Papoose's back. Assert that Eazy is more than just the new guy. Positioning oneself as the new collaborator in the brand, in all aspects of the company. But despite everything, Papoose is still quiet. There's no reaction from the people, no media. Simply a few mysterious Instagram statements and tales that don't seem like reprisals. And perhaps he was aware of his resignation. This was coming. Perhaps he thought so. Would go away? Or perhaps he has been preparing for a conflict that none of us understood was brewing, because one source claims, around Chrome 23, what the general people observed was only the initial crack. The impending catastrophe is more than simply a failed love tale that is a template dismantling a kingdom and reducing it to ash in real time. And if the rumors are accurate, if what's taking place in the background is even half as disorderly as we are hearing, what will happen next? make everything appear like this up until this point. Tame enough to comprehend the true trigger this breakdown. What is the conflict? Between Papoose and Eazy appeared to be the opinions of insiders about Rhee's long-term play. We must delve farther, as the heartache is only the reveal of the true tale, the one concerning betrayal at the greatest level and power. Legacy level, which is what we find out next. What we witnessed on camera was only the last explosion, although in the background it had been constructing for months, if not longer. And now that Remy's remarks are public, every questionable look, every postponement with each postponed appearance made sense all of a sudden. The quiet wasn't tranquility. Everyone was getting ready, moving as if they were anticipating a storm. Yet it did more than only demolish a friendship, sending shivers down the spine and causing conflict across the industry. Eazy and Papoose were not apprehended throughout the live feed, but parts of it were leaked observer audio and unaltered security snippets from the Chrome 23 backstage. The anonymous Fight Night event was given TOA mid-tier blog, and then inexplicably removed a few hours later. But not until it was saved by humans. And if what they described is even somewhat true, wasn't a discussion. Rather, it was heated heavy. Words, not fists. One outburst, according to the witness, Papoose waited until Eazy was alone. Myself, without a group or photographers. Only a little corridor with dim lights and years of accumulated self-control. You crossed, he allegedly stated the sentence, "She was my planet." To which Eazy is said to have replied, "She was the one she picked." Differently, no punches, that was all. Simply quiet, not because there wasn't any fury, but since the actual altercation had been lost already. And at that very time, Papoose understood that he was already outnumbered and replaced. Several employees of Chrome 23 quit. No remarks the next week, just a series of abrupt industry insiders. Exits are referring to a power's silent fall structure. Those who used to support Rhee's side began to distance themselves professionally, themselves overnight, according to some. Others claim that it was fear rather than loyalty, of Remy, but of having a hand in what's going to happen, since this is where things become more sinister. According to internal papers that were purportedly sent from an irate former Chrome 23 user, employees there have substantial financial disparities in the league's accounting. Duplicate bills and missed payouts of the budget without a trace, and the pattern that appears to start soon after the Block Captain. Eazy was introduced as no longer a full-time talent consultant. No one is claiming direct responsibility. However, what's surprising is how quickly several choices were taken after he entered the scene. According to reports, disregarded her own advisors, reorganized new employment contracts were accepted without the production of background checks. Expenses quadrupled on specific occasions without any receipts, but for some reason, nobody has made any inquiries to date. One whistleblower, according to insider statements made under the codename C23, more than $300,000 in league support. The funds were transferred to a private off-books account that is used to handle promotional funds purportedly associated with a restricted liabilities business that someone combs, assuming that's accurate, with the initials EBC. And since there is currently no concrete evidence, it indicates this goes beyond infidelity. It's about financial dominance, potential fraud, and guess who was allegedly barred from the month's prior finance meetings? This Papoose, who appeared, wasn't simply becoming emotionally detached. He was purposefully and lawfully blocking out, according to accounts. He expressed worries to Remy privately and was instructed to have faith in the vision. But before he understood what was taking place, the paper trail was too dim to follow already, and the leadership structure has already been decided. A few legal professionals discussing had conjectured that if these changes in finances are real and observable, it may expose Remy Ma to severe examination of sponsorship abuse monies that are reported fraudulently to partners. Inappropriate. Distribution of cash associated with deals with media and goods aren't merely a PR disaster with possible corporate malpractice, but Remy appears in public. She's been unfazed since the live feed. Doubled down with no retractions or apologies. Just vague posts about freedom and clarity. By maintaining your integrity. She's been taken to intimate dinners with their moving as easily as a pair who've already endured the criticism and survived it. The plan is obvious. Don't make the treachery and justify the move. Appear to be emancipation. Reinterpret the turmoil as authority. And consumers are purchasing it at least a few of the younger admirers, particularly those who listen to combat rap. Rhee's action is being hailed as courageous by the society. Empowering the type of men who have achieved self-actualization has escaped for decades. They haven't had sympathy for Papoose. They're commending Remy for putting passion before duty, but the remainder of the culture isn't hip-hop extremely tolerant of senior fans. Women. Historians who supported Remy during each phase of her return feel more than simply disappointment. Deceived, betrayed, and not maintaining Instagram comment sections that are silent have become virtual battlegrounds for certain supporters who are requesting boycotts. While others are asking for clarification on where they're, especially for those who invested money went into Chrome 23's pay-per-view merchandise events, or supporters of the Patreon model platforms that are now under scrutiny for openness. And while Remy keeps publishing as if nothing has occurred, Papoose is uncomfortably quiet about. Silence is beginning to change, from decency to wonder what he's waiting for. Why hasn't he raised his voice? Because if half of what we found is true, could be getting ready for something far larger. Rather than a muted social media clapback, Papoose is reportedly meeting with lawyers, business lawyers, and contract professionals in brand protection. Those who don't cope with emotions handle litigation. The premise: he still holds ownership of Chrome 23 to a certain extent, in theory. At least, and if such rights were diluted or stripped without the appropriate consent, this tale will not end with courtrooms are the final destination for broken hearts. According to insiders, he has been collecting proof. Correspondence, voicemail backups for financial records, potentially. NDAs that were broken in the course of Rhee's purported liaison and urge for rebranding, because if Eazy was employed throughout this change, and as it happens, there was a romantic relationship in which there was a clash of interest that had the potential to ruin everything. However, here is the unexpected part. A producer in the past who worked on early Chrome 23 events was anonymously contacted and said that this will always occur. Although Ray has been constructing her empire, she refused to share the throne with anyone. Credibly, Papoose eventually talk to Remy. Under pressure, Chrome 23 will crack. Endure a comprehensive audit, or will all three of them just leave the area? The rest of us are still debating who is louder and who is correct. You may do the following right now. Drop your opinions in the comments section. Who should assign blame to the actual sufferer? It's going to be made public, like this video, if you've had enough of phony empowerment. Hiding genuine treachery. Share it if you believe that more individuals must see through the headlines, and remember to subscribe, as I assure you that this isn't by any means the next chapter. It's being written already, and when it is, you will want to be the first to drop it and hear it. So after dragging it, hold it up to the light with the receipts out, and saw the whole fairy story ascend. Let's discuss. In flames. Are we truly referring to this expansion? Or did Remy Ma merely press the eject button on the call and loyalty? Does Papoose's elevation make him a victim, or merely another man who considered keeping it down, assured a joyful conclusion, and made the block captain's partner with eyesight, or rebound rapper with the ideal time? Because they won't tell you this. This wasn't in those sterile headlines, simply a split. It was a rebranding. Chess move that is deliberate and dispassionate, that knocked the king off the board and the world observing as if it were pay-per-view. So please let me know in the remarks. Are you on this squad or Remy's team, Papa? The entire thing is an excellent example of how to burn everything and give the camera a grin. And destroy that while you're down there. Click like if you're sick of influencers who portray treachery as bravery. Tell that one buddy about this person who still believes that genuine love may be found in the music sector. And naturally, subscribe, as this was only the beginning of you already know that we're in pandemonium, observing the courts filing of the mysterious shares, the silent unfollows, and the subsequent level of chaos that will undoubtedly occur and will be here first when it happens. Uncensored, undisturbed, and entirely fearless in expressing what everyone else is whispering, that this was war, not love. Think we haven't finished exposing.